The cap on that is $25,000, while you're jacking up taxes on people who make less than $50,000 across the United States.
It is a evil, heartless bill where folks should have been throwing hands and chairs and feet over it.
Because the long-standing, long proposed, long pushed, one big beautiful bill has now just passed. Not only has passed the Senate, but has now, as of a couple of hours ago, or a few hours ago, has passed the House again and is headed to Donald Trump's desk to be signed.
Live look in Washington now, where Congress delivered a legislative victory for the president today. The so-called One Big Beautiful Bill is now headed to the president's desk.
House Republicans handed President Trump a big win on his so-called Big Beautiful Bill.
The yeas are 218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
Lawmakers passed the massive budget bill after a day of tense negotiations, with Republican leaders and President Trump himself working to wrangle support from GOP holdouts. The legislation significantly boosts spending for border security, immigration enforcement, and defense. It also extends Trump's 2017 tax cuts, increases the child tax credit, and ends taxes on tips and overtime pay, citing changes and steep cuts to safety net programs, including SNAP, the Food Assistance Program, and Medicaid. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates Medicaid could be cut by roughly $930 billion, with nearly 12 million people at risk of losing health care coverage. President Trump is planning a White House signing ceremony for his signature legislation on the 4th of July.
I know we talk a lot of shit on this show, and we oftentimes talk about what the struggle looks like, not just for Black people, but for poor and working class people. And in many instances, people could say that people could assume that we're being hyperbolic. This is one of the most egregious, and that says a lot given America's history, one of the most egregious things to ever happen to the poor and working class people in this country, when you take a look at the bill and all of the things that it's going to do to poor and working class people.
The Big Beautiful Bill will have a incredibly harsh impact on poor working class people across the country. It is a evil, heartless bill where folks should have been throwing hands and chairs and feet over it. Because when we think about some of the key impacts of this bill are going to be cuts to Medicaid and food assistance. That would be SNAP, aka food stamps, right? So for instance, in Philly alone, more than 50,000 people could lose Medicaid. And statewide in Pennsylvania, almost 300,000 people can lose coverage. That's just the Medicaid portion. It's reducing safety nets. The bill slashes funding for social services programs for poor working class people, food cupboards, all these things for people who live in food insecure households. These cuts will be harder on families to put food on the table. It's small tax breaks versus big tax cuts for wealthy. While there's some temporary tax deductions for tip workers, because this is another portion of the bill. Those who own overtime, those benefits are limited, and it's my guy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the worst things. It is going to widen inequality across the country. It gives the biggest benefits, of course, to the wealthy and corporations, while making life incredibly and excruciating harder for poor working class families by cutting essential programs and making it difficult to access basic needs. This is one of those things where we are in such dire situations that I don't think we are fully going to understand the impact of this until matter of fact, I don't know what it is. I don't know what is going to be the thing that's going to wake us up to realize how cooked we are.
Alexandria
But the thing-
Ocasio-Cortez recently came
sorry.
out and she was battling about this bill, or on the Senate, on the Congress floor, talking about the impact, because a lot of people have been fooled into thinking that the benefits for working class and middle class folks, that it's a good or balanced trade-off. Now,
As one of the only people in this body who has lived off of tips, I want to tell you a little bit about the scam of that text, a little bit of the fine print there. The cap on that is $25,000. While you're jacking up taxes on people who make less than $50,000 across the United States, while taking away their SNAP, while taking away their Medicaid, while kicking them off of the ACA and their health care extensions. So if you're at home and you're living off tips, you do the math. Is that worth it to you? Losing all your health care, not able to feed your babies, not being able to put a diaper on their bottom in exchange for what? This bill is a deal with the devil. It explodes our national debt. It militarizes our entire economy, and it strips away health care and basic dignity of the American people. For what? To give Elon Musk a tax break and billionaires the greedy taking of our nation. We cannot.
There are going to be at least 12 million people that lose their insurance. Estimates say that that's a conservative number. There's going to be anywhere between 12 and 17, and most people believe it's going to be over 17 within the next couple of years. 17 million people within the next year or two that will not have any.
20.
Yep. That will not have any type of insurance coverage. They literally, this is the largest. Now, I want to make sure that our folks understand that we're not just talking out of pocket here, bro.
No.
The only time the United States has ever transferred or moved money in this large amount,
excuse me,
okay, has been during times of crisis. So I want you to think every war that the United States has gone into.
Yes.
I want you to think about COVID. I want you to think about the financial crisis of 2008. That's when the United States has said, you know what? Things are so dire that we got to shift a whole bunch of money around and possibly benefit those people at the top, financial crisis, example, to make things right. We have no crisis here. And this is the largest transfer of wealth from poor and working class people to the billionaire and millionaire class that we will never see again. Yep. Never see again. They literally cut over $1.2 trillion from our social safety net.
Yep.
And they're giving $1.3 trillion
to who?
In tax breaks to people that make $500,000 or more. And that tax break is permanent.
Yeah.
Permanent.
Yeah.
Mind you, the no taxes on tips, the no taxes on overtime, they are set to expire in
2025, right? Not 25, but
2028.
Yeah.
Right in time for the next election.
Yeah. And it's not as if they don't have the money. Like, that's the thing.
They have all the money already.
They just allotted $1 trillion to the Department of Defense, like,
for this Golden Dome nonsense.
Yes. So it's not as if, and here's the thing that I know so many people are going to do, and I understand it, and I don't want you guys to fall into this trap, because it is such an easy trap that's been laid out for us time and time again. I don't want you to get caught up in the Republican Democratic notion that this is a Republican Democrat. Please do not fall into that trap. It's an awful trap to fall in. It's dangerous. It's filled with vipers. You're going to fall into the same situation and same cycle. Here's the thing that we got to begin to ask for the Democrats who are going to be running towards for the midterm elections. This is when they should be under the most scrutiny, is coming up in these midterm elections, when there's going to be opportunities to create some changes. The question should be, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about ICE? What are you going to do? What all these things that are plaguing us now, the poor working class people, this is your opportunity to begin using this situation as an opportunity to vet all of these Democratic folks who are going to be running in these midterms. Like, they can't just drop the ball this time and use the boogeyman is here and the boogeyman is kicking our ass as a way of getting us to run to the polls like we always have. If we don't get some actual changes in material conditions this time, we ain't never getting it, because things have never quite been this bad for us. And it hasn't even got that bad for us yet.
The key.